Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, the 28th day of August, the last Wednesday of August. My name is, as always, Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for joining me here this Wednesday evening. My apologies. I got 3 stories real quick. My apologies for last week. But as many of you know, I'm an idiot. All right? The reason why there was no show last week is because I'm an idiot. For those of you watching the video, you can see a picture on screen of a round thing. That's a motorcycle tire. That's the front motorcycle tire. The shiny bits are metal, steel, thread, cord. You should never see that on any tire whatsoever. Unless, in fact, the tire is made out of steel. You should never see that on the front of a motorcycle tire. That is an indication of just how remarkably stupid I am. You never let your tires get that bad on a motorcycle. I'm so lucky. You know, I've got, those of you who have known me for years knows that big doofus on can have some bad luck at times. But this was as unlucky as it is. It was very lucky. I left to go on a ride on Tuesday and thought, oh, you know, there's a really nice twisty road I'll go on. And I was out riding, I just wasn't feeling it. So I came home and got off the bike and was just wandering around and looked. I saw shiny. Like, shiny? Shiny in tire? No, bad. Tire black. Tire rubber, never shiny. And that's when I saw that picture. Oh, my God. I was so lucky. I was so lucky that I wasn't doing any kind of speed whatsoever because that tire had blown out. That's the front tire. You'd have gone down. There's no doubt about it. The bike would have just, and depending on the speed and the angle, I just wouldn't want to think about it. So thanks be to whatever deity out there saved my dumb butt. Now, the unfortunate part was that I needed new tires, and that's $800. Yes, $800 for motorcycle tires, and that's including installation. They're not cheap. Motorcycle tires are not, and they don't last very long. A lot of people are surprised that I was talking about this on Twitter, and surprised to hear that I was getting between 10 to 16,000 kilometers. That's, I'm going to guess, 8 to 14,000 miles on a motorcycle tire, and that's pretty good, actually. There are sport bike tires. Those kids you see in what they call the crotch rockets, they can get as little as 5,000 miles, 8,000 kilometers on them. They don't last long. Because the thing is, with a car tire, you want longevity. So a car tire, the rubber is actually hard. And you remember the profile of a car tire on the bottom is flat. Whereas the profile of a motorcycle tire is kind of curved, kind of a V shape or a U shape, actually. And what's more important, almost more important than longevity on a motorcycle tire is grip, is traction. And traction means you can't have a hard tire. It's got to be soft to a certain degree. It's got to be what they call sticky. And if it's sticky, it wears way faster. It's just the way it is with motorcycle tires. So thanks very much for the Logan telling me I was an idiot for doing it. My friends in the FJR motorcycle community telling me I'm an idiot for doing it. And don't worry, every day now, I look at those tires, and even though there are only a couple hundred miles on them, I check them. Secondly, I'm willing to admit, finally, Mosquito, were you able to get any help from your insurance company for that prematurely crappy tire? No, because there's no proof that tire was prematurely crappy. So, and it's fine. Finally, Paul Sahner shows up, only because his mom is in the IRC chat room. Everyone, Paul's mom is in the IRC chat room. Paul Sahner is also, that's his mom. Paul and his mom. Hey, Mom. Paul Sahner, Mom. So I was going to tell this story that I don't think I've ever spoken directly to Mrs. Sahner. It's interesting. When I first met Paul, it was, oh God, I don't know how many years ago was Paul, but he was 16, 17 years old. It was at Macworld Expo. And him and his friend Marcus Toole were helping Jay out mostly with video that Jay was shooting, editing. These guys were great, huge help to Jay and myself in editing the video and getting it posted up very, very quickly. So one night, I don't remember if it was a YML party or was it a generic party. Marcus and Paul came along, and I said to them, guys, this is an adult party. All right, you're expected to comport yourself as adults. There is plenty of food over there. There's plenty of soda. There's plenty of pop over there. There's water. Knock yourselves out. If I see either one of you, even holding a beer, I will literally punch you in the throat. And they both sort of nervously laughed. I said, no, look me in the eye. I mean this with all seriousness. If you even look at beer, if someone offers you a beer and you don't knock it out of their hands, I will punch you in the throat. Your mother may not beat you, but I have no problem beating you. And I told them, I said, I'm going to be the happiest guy in the world when both you guys turn of age and I can come to wherever you are and I will buy you beer. But until that point in time, if I even hear you thinking about beer, I will punch you in the throat. I won't abide with that kind of stuff, that kind of drinking underage kind of thing. I saw way too much of it when I was a kid, and I don't allow it anywhere around me. But it was great. They were such nice guys, even at 16, 17 years old. They were fantastic young men. I don't even want to call them kids. They were fun. They were funny. They were intelligent. They were hard workers. We loved having them around. And then I think about 2 or 3 years afterwards, I think both of them discovered girls, and we never heard from them again. They just ignored us, which is kind of fair because girls are so much more interesting than geeks. So I have no problem with that. So, but it's great to see Paul is joining us in success. We're going to talk to him about his website, NYC-Grid.com. We talked to him about 6 months ago about this, but he's got this really funky new way of visualizing New York City. I absolutely love. I've been following it every single day since he started doing this. Go to NYC-Grid, GRID.com, and check out the way Paul has put these photos, not just side by side, but overlaying them with this really cool slider effect that you can sort of scrub back and forth to see old New York and present day New York. Now, I know Paul didn't develop or invent the slider effect. He's just using it to great effect. We'll talk about that and much, much more. We're also going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. He is the guy who has crushed another rumor about iPads being announced on September 10th. He didn't have to crush it. Common sense told him Apple's not going to do that. They don't announce iPhone and iPad in the same frickin' day. Idiots. And I think I'm ready to admit that I may have a problem. Most of you who know me know that for whatever reason, I adore penguins. Love penguins. I think penguins are cute and funny and fun, and they make me laugh. Over this shoulder is a penguin, a rockhopper penguin. But you guys have always said it's a fetish, and I disagree with that. I just like them. Until this past weekend when I went to the CA office, and they had this suitcase, and I had to buy it. Okay, it may be a fetish. It's a great suitcase, though. I love this suitcase. I didn't have a suitcase, because you know who absconded with it after she left. And so I needed a suitcase for our trip to Italy in October. And I was in the CA office, and Mosquito, are you serious? Am I serious about what, Mosquito? I was in the Canadian Automobile Association office talking to a travel agent, and they had that suitcase there. I was like, oh my! If I hadn't been on the motorcycle, I would have bought it then. And I seriously thought, I could strap it to the back of the. No. Well, it turns out though, that's the other thing. Yes, I'm serious with that suitcase. Of course, I'm serious with that suitcase. Turns out though, that may be the only suitcase left in existence, because you can't buy that suitcase in the National Geographic website anymore. Go ahead and do a Google search for National Geographic penguin suitcase. They have polar bear suitcases. They have a Golden Gate Bridge suitcase, but they don't have the penguin suitcase anymore. So the other thing is, to a certain degree, it's kind of practical in the sense that everyone's luggage is black. You go to luggage carousel at an airport, and it takes you 20 minutes to find which of the black cases is yours. So at least it's distinctive in that way. Secondly, no self-respecting thief will steal that thing out of the airport carousel. I'm the only guy who'd be willing to waddle down a airport concourse pulling along penguins. So yeah, it might. Not saying it is. It might be a fetish. Don't forget, this. If you haven't put in your entry form for the Friends of YML contest, tonight is your last night possible for this month. We'll restart this in September, obviously. So if you haven't done it yet, go to the website, yourmaclifeshow.com, or to the top, Friends of YML contest entry form. You fill the form out. It sends me an email. I drop your name into a virtual hat, and maybe later on tonight, if I so feel, we will have some we will have real prizes to give away to a lucky listener. Up next, though, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. This is Your Mac Life. Mr. Dalrymple, are you there? Jim? Yo, Jimbo. We're going to have the same problem again. Damn it. This problem last week, we couldn't get Jim on video. Not sure why we can't get Jim on video. Jim, you there? If he's talking, I can't hear him. That's the problem. All right, let me hang up on Jim and try this again. Video call. Jim Dalrymple. It says ringing, but I don't see, and then it says Jim Dalrymple's there. Jim? Oh, for crying out loud. What the hell is going on? I test this stuff like the day before in the afternoon of, and it works just fine. And then when it comes to actually doing it on the show, it craps out of me. All right, let me call Jim on the cell phone and see if that's going to work. God damn it! Bear with us, folks, while I try to figure this out. Stupid Skype. Where's this going? And Jim Dalrymple calling. Hang on. Recent. Jim Dalrymple on my list of recent callers. Good God. This is so annoying. Voice call. Now I can start ringing. I assume you guys can hear it too. Jim, you there? Jim, are you there? Oh, for crying out loud. Jim! Jim. I can't tell if Jim can even hear me. All right, Jim, I'll get Jim to. Jim says I can see him on Skype. This is so annoying that he just texted me on Skype. Just call my home phone number. I gotta find Jim's home phone number now. People. Jim Dalrymple. Bill Reynolds is in the RC chat room. It's really loud. worry, folks. I'll fix this in post. Is that really loud? Is it in my imagination?
Hi, you've reached Jim Dalrymple. I can't take your call right now.
I just texted Jim. I'm trying to call him on his home number, but there's no answer. All right, let's
Please stand by while we complete your long-distance call. To avoid this message, please dial 1 before a 10-digit long-distance number. Thank you.
That's the Rogers voice system interrupting the call.
You're becoming a real pain in my ass.
Yeah, tell me about it. I don't know what the hell is going on. This worked fine for 3 weeks, and now all of a sudden, every time we try using Skype for video, it craps out on us.
I don't know.
It's just really annoying.
And you couldn't even hear me. I'm using the same setup that I used this afternoon.
Yep, the same with me. I'm using the same setup that we've used in the past, and I could not hear a word you were saying. Unless you were just dicking me around as usual and just pretending.
No, I would have let you in on that little.
See, I never know with you, though. You just can't be trusted.
No, I know.
All right. Speaking of can't be trusted, Steve Ballmer's leaving Microsoft.
Microsoft stock goes up.
It goes up by a lot, dude. It's only a couple of pennies. It went up by a lot.
That's something that you never want to see when you leave your company.
This is not unexpected. Everyone leaves every company eventually for any number of reasons. But there has been some talk behind the scenes that he was if not pushed out, but certainly asked to leave. Do you think it really matters why Ballmer's leaving? I think the important thing is that he, in fact, is leaving, correct?
Well, not so much in this case.
Really?
I think it does. I think it does matter. Ballmer. People, I've seen people on Twitter say, Ballmer made $138 billion for Microsoft in profit while he's been CEO. So he's a real failure. Well, in fact, he is.
Yeah.
Because they're so far behind in anything modern that they're becoming a second. Really a second thought.
Yeah.
And everything. Do you think of Microsoft first for tablets? No. Phones? No. And Ben Beharan said tonight on Twitter, the world is not going mobile. It's already gone mobile. Yeah. And if you don't have a strategy already, you're done.
I think that Ballmer, all this talk about Ballmer and whether he's been a success for Microsoft or not brings me the idea of how do you become a millionaire? Start with 10 million. I think that's exactly what's happened. When Ballmer took over, the stat was that I think Microsoft stock, the company was worth $600 billion, and now it's worth $200 billion. The company is still successful. It's still making money, but it's making a whole lot less. And it's pretty obvious that that's the trend that's going to continue to go on for the next 10, 15 years. They're just, as someone said on Twitter also, they've just been resting on their laurels seemingly the entire time Ballmer's been CEO.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ballmer's, big in staging iPod funerals and iPhone funerals. And, but what has he actually done to move technology forward, to, let's use the word, innovate? Yeah. What has he done? A button bar in Word?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Microsoft has not done anything in at least a decade.
And I think the interesting thing is Microsoft was known for their embrace and extend during Gates's reign, where they would basically like a blob just absorb other companies, other technologies, and make them their own. The idea
Yep.
of the competition between them, Internet Explorer, and Netscape is a perfect example of this. Ballmer did none of that. Ballmer did no embrace and extend, because I think that was Microsoft's strength, at least under Gates, was recognizing what the future was going to be, and then, if not leading the charge, certainly absorbing so much of it that they became the de facto leader. And Ballmer hasn't done that even in the slightest way.
Well, what products, if you ask somebody what products Microsoft has, you would get two answers: Windows and Office.
Yeah.
They have a lot more than that. But that's basically all that they have. That's all people know. And Microsoft made a lot of its money by, selling licenses and things like that for software. But a lot of that stuff is going away. As the world turns more to Mac or even Linux, it all hurts Microsoft. And, at one time you could say, well, the Mac doesn't really hurt them. But PC sales are dropping dramatically.
Sure. Yeah.
And they have been for years. That hurts Microsoft. And when they put out releases like Windows 8, where people's machines won't even run it, and then when they see it, they don't like it, well, now you've got problems.
Is there any hope for Microsoft? No matter who they pick as their next CEO, do you believe that they are on a inexorable decline, that in 10 years the company will be not just a shadow of its former self, but possibly not even around?
Oh, they'll still be around.
Yeah.
But I think Microsoft hasn't finished falling.
Yeah.
They've got a ways to go yet before they... I don't think whoever the CEO is coming in is going to be able to all of a sudden stop the decline of Microsoft. Because, they have products in the pipeline.
Sure.
And I'm just guessing that those products suck as bad as everything else they've been putting out. And, let's not forget all the products that they canceled and the products they promised and they never came out. This is Ballmer's legacy.
Yeah.
He hasn't hit on a single product that people want. And I'm not, the Xbox is a good product. I like the Xbox, but let's focus on the computer industry. He hasn't done anything. And the fact is Microsoft is so far behind that I'm not sure that they can catch up. Maybe the hope for Microsoft is whatever comes next.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone through music players and just decimated Microsoft. We've gone through phones, decimated Microsoft. Tablets, embarrassed Microsoft. And now we're whatever's next. What's next that Microsoft can do to try and catch up in an industry? But instead of lagging so far behind, they have to try and lead that next technology, whatever it is.
Do you think it's possible, not that Bill Gates is going to come back, Bill Gates is not coming back to Microsoft, I'll tell you that right now, but do you think it's even possible for Microsoft to pull a Steve Jobs-like phoenix rising from the ashes, in that whoever the next CEO is of Microsoft, cut the company to the bone, to the bare minimum, as Jobs did when he came back in 96, and rebuild from there, hire good people, fire the idiots, find out what your core competency is, as marketers will say, and build from there? Or do you think the company's just too far gone now that they can't even accomplish that?
No, they're not too far gone. I mean, there are a lot of smart people at Microsoft, and you and I both know people that work at Microsoft,
right.
And I feel bad for them because the decisions to release these products and build these products are coming from up high.
Mm-hmm.
They're not coming from the people that know that they're going to fail. So I feel bad for them. But, yeah, that's what needs to happen. Somebody needs to come in and say, okay, we're done with all this stuff. We're going to clean it up. And, yeah, they can rebuild and come back. They can rebrand themselves. And, yes, Office and Windows are billion-dollar businesses for us, but we've got this new thing. And they really need that new thing. That's what they need. That's what they need to do.
Arcson in the RC chat room wants me to ask you, Shawn, ask Jim if Microsoft's enterprise business software is a success that people ignore.
I don't even know enough about it.
Yeah, neither do I.
I wish I could answer that, but, I'm not in the enterprise. Maybe in that market, that is a success. I have no idea.
And they certainly
it's not something that's front-facing.
They certainly could act very much like IBM. I mean, IBM got rid of their tablet business, and they became an enterprise company, and from all indications, they're a successful enterprise company. No one buys IBM PCs anymore, but they're billion-dollar companies being run on IBM enterprise software. So it's certainly possible that Microsoft could go that route too.
This has happened to a lot of companies.
Sure.
I mean, you're talking household names. Microsoft is a household name. Sony, it happened to them.
Yeah.
There's so many companies that you could list off that this very thing has happened where for some reason they stop. And people don't want their stuff anymore.
Mm.
And I saw something online, and I forget where it was, about Google being the next Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point people are just going to get fed up with Google.
Fed up in what way?
Well, I think people are starting to wise up to the fact that you're the product.
You think? I don't think people are. I don't see that nearly enough. I think in the group.
Well, maybe not enough, but I think it's there.
Interesting.
I think it's there. We still have a long way to go because people want free, and they'll scream and yell about privacy.
Yeah.
But then you say, "Oh, this is free." Oh, really? Okay. Well, geez, I'll have that.
Yeah, they won't do anything, and that's the thing too. Is they won't do anything with their privacy. They'll wake up and smell the coffee when they see a news report about it. When the CBS Evening News talks about Prism, but they forget about it immediately afterwards. I don't think that there's enough.
Then they go on their computer and go on Google Docs. And,
exactly. That's right. Exactly. Yeah, I don't think people understand enough about what Google does behind the scenes for them to be too up in arms about it. For the average consumer, Gmail is great. It's free email. I love that. Google.com is great. It's free search. I love that. I don't think enough people understand where Google is behind the scenes that to make them realize, oh, wait a minute, this is a company that, the mantra used to be don't be evil, and now it's probably be less evil.
Yeah, well, don't be evil to the point where people can catch you.
Exactly. Don't get caught is their new mantra.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Google does have some good products.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get right down to the simplicity of it, I think Gmail is a good product. The spam filtering is a good product. That stuff is pretty good. But there's some evilness there.
I agree. Speaking of which, there's a story from online this past week with regards to just how much damage, I believe, is the right way of putting it, Android does, in the sense that the U.S. government is warning their staff, their government employees, about the dangers of Android. The fact that Android has, almost 75% of all malware on mobile platforms is attached to an Android device. And what upset me about this was the fact, why is the government just warning its own employees? Isn't something this big something they should be warning the entire country about?
Oh, no. That's okay.
No, don't worry about it. Just it's okay. Don't worry.
Why warn the rest of the country? I mean, they're already using Windows, so they're used to it.
It was just an odd on Apple.20, Elmer Fudd's website. It was just an odd thing. Android accounts for 79%. The government warns police, fire, EMS, and security personnel. And I'm thinking to myself, why aren't they warning the rest of us?
Yeah. No, it is a good point. I mean, it really is.
Is this something is this something one of those things that I remember back in the day, you and I had this discussion many, many years ago about the fact that Apple doesn't tout the fact that they are virus free, or were back then. Is this something Apple won't take advantage of? We won't see any advertisement based around this from Apple?
Probably not. I mean, I think that part of it, I mean, the Apple's core business right now is not the desktop and the fact that OS X is virus-free. OS X is kind of like, an update companion for the iPhone these days.
Yeah.
Because their core business is mobile. So that's what you need to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you think mobile is going to be supporting the desktop as opposed to the reverse, or will they go hand in glove in the future?
Will mobile be supporting desktop?
Yeah. Do you think that the because of the focus and direction that the mobile makes us go, things have to be faster, they have to be cleaner, they have to be neater. Do you think that will filter down to the desktop, that we're going to have faster, cleaner OSs, applications, connectivity, cloud storage, and that kind of stuff?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, at some point, everything that we do is going to be in the cloud.
Yeah.
It's not going to be with us like it is now, even though a lot of our stuff is in the cloud now. But, one thing is going to have to support the other. And that's what it's going to come down to for all of it for us.
And I think that's where Apple has a big advantage, because they make both OSs.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing we've been talking about we've known for many, many years, but it's going to become a greater and greater advantage for Apple that if mobile is driving the rest of the space, because Apple does both desktop and mobile, no one else does to that degree. Apple's got a huge advantage in convincing the general public to buy their devices, buy their services.
I agree.
No. So, you used to work for Macworld. Maybe you can help me out with this. I am completely amazed at the fact, and I've ranted on this for years, but have you noticed nobody in the Macintosh community talked about, said a word about Macworld iWorld Asia 2013?
The what now?
There was a huge Macworld that happened in Beijing this past week. 15 million people attended Macworld Asia this past week. Macworld.com didn't mention it. MacworldIWorld.com didn't mention it. No other Mac website mentioned the fact that the single biggest expo for the Mac happened this past week. Is that Macworld ignoring their own brand? I don't understand.
Well, I didn't even know about it.
I know! No one knows about it except me!
Well, then the question is, why didn't you mention it?
I did! But no one listens to me!
Yeah, geez, I didn't know about that.
It's just one of those weird stories that just struck me as so strange that nobody brought this up. There was no commentary about it anywhere in the mainstream Western Mac media. It's just bizarre to me that this huge show, now I don't know, maybe something was lost in translation, but they claim 15 million attendees to this show.
Well, I'm hoping that there's something lost in translation there, but when you have 1 billion people, 15 million's not that big.
That's what I was thinking too. That maybe it might very well be 15 million because they've got that many people like in the neighborhood. But
yeah, that's pretty incredible when you think about it.
It just struck me as strange that like I said, nobody mentioned this. This new, not new. This has been around for about 5 years now. But no one seemed to mention the fact that
What?
Mackerel Asia
It's been around for 5 years.
Mackerel iWorld Asia has been around for about 5 years.
Wow.
Dude, where have you been? This is your job.
Wow.
Why am I the guy having to tell you how to do your job?
That's terrible.
That's kind of funny, actually.
That's just terrible, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's just one of those weird stories that no one seems to care about her. But it's a huge show. Even if it's 1% of what they say, I guarantee you Mackerel Asia is 10 times bigger than Mackerel San Francisco. Because Mackerel San Francisco's got maybe 15,000 people. I don't care what IDG says. I'm calling them liars for saying 25,000 people. They've got maybe 15,000. So I guarantee you Mackerel Beijing has got a hell of a lot more people than that.
Jeez.
No, I know.
Well, now I just want to hang up. No, I didn't know that something that big.
Bill Reynolds just sent us the link to ChinaDaily.com, 200,000 visitors. That's probably more likely than the 15 million that the original story quoted. But still, 200,000 people is a lot of frickin' people.
That's just crazy.
It's I take it back. The Mackerel iWorld Asia Expo debut was 2001. Been going on for 12 years.
Well, see, that explains a lot. We had just sold Mac Central then, so I was drunk in 2001.
for the whole year.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I have no problem with that. I completely understand that. Let's move on to the rumored iPad at Apple's September 10th media event. Give us, drumroll please, will there be an iPad announcement at Apple's September 10th media event? Jim Dalrymple of The Loop.
No.
Yeah, of course not. And that's just, you shouldn't even had to refute that story. Because Bloomberg are a bunch of idiots for not realizing Apple doesn't announce the iPad and the iPhone at the same event.
Yeah.
That's just stupid.
They were... I don't get these companies sometimes, I really don't. But, and when it first happened, I wasn't even going to say anything. And then it started to spread.
Yeah.
So... I said, okay.
But it's another one of those common sense things that you'd think that if you wanted to maintain your reputation, I think it's something, a common thread of our conversations for at least 10, 15 years that we've known each other. The common thread is that your reputation is the only thing you have online. And these companies that piss away their reputation, like Bloomberg, by losing their complete common sense, Apple does not announce iPads at the same event they announced the iPhone. Done. Sorry. End of story.
Well, and you could say, they could make the argument, well, they have done that before because they used to have a separate iPod event.
Yeah.
But, yes, but only when the iPod had diminished because of the iPhone.
Yeah.
That's when they started throwing, oh, yeah, by the way, we're going to, release these new iPods.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, not when they're so big like this, because one thing that we do know, and that Bloomberg should know too, is that Apple likes to focus. They keep their focus. This is an iPhone event. And who knows? Apple could release something else during that event.
Sure.
And they could release a new iPod. Who knows? I have no idea whether they will or not.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just saying, they could release anything at the event. But it's a focused event on, iOS 7 and iPhone and, all the stuff that we would expect. And it's a great time of year for them to do it.
Sure, yeah. And the other thing is, again, Bloomberg should know this. Anyone with half a frickin' brain should know this. By Apple announcing something September 10th, and then waiting until, let's just throw the number out there, a month later, October 10th, They grabbed the news cycle for 2 full months.
Yeah.
Rather than announcing everything on September 10th and then only getting a news cycle for a month, this way they double the amount of coverage they get.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Bloomberg get this?
But Apple doesn't even do it for that reason.
No, they don't.
And that's what's so sad,
Yep.
because all these other companies are just clamoring and trying to get people to write about them.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Apple says nothing gets all the news.
Well, to be fair, according to CNET, it's the Apple hype machine at work.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah.
what? Apple's on the phone with everybody but me?
And me, apparently. And that was just one of the dumber stories I read this past week. The guy was whining about how much Apple hype there was on a website that had posted 6 stories about the iPhone in 2 days, about the rumored iPhone in 2 days, about whether it was 5S or 5C or gold colored or slate colored. And this guy's whining about the fact about the Apple hype machine is in full swing.
See, I don't really see that much. So.
I don't know how you can get your head that far up your ass and still be able to breathe.
Why would you read that? Why you hate that site? Why would you be there reading?
I hate it so much. I hated it before you were there. I hated it while you were there. I hate it now. I don't know. It must be just masochism.
It's got to be.
I just need to get a good hate on, and if I need to get a good hate on, CNET Cultamac. Boom, done.
I picture you after you get off the phone from the show as one of the Illuminati or something with one of those whips where you whip yourself in the back.
Exactly.
Just for kicks or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Good God, man! Why do you go there?
Oh, I don't know.
See, I didn't even see that story. That would have upset me too for the very same reason.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, you're the one that's spreading the rumors,
Yep.
and now you're upset that the rumors are spreading?
Yeah, exactly. Or the other one that was just a classic idiot ass hat whine was Chris Maxer over at Mac News World complaining about the fact that he knows too much about what's going to be announced on September 10th. Okay, you work at Mac News World. It's your job, ass hat.
Well, and is he complaining that he knows too much and he's not saying, or that he just knows too much because of the rumors?
He says, trying to stay excited about Apple's iPhone reveal, but instead I'm settling into the notion that we'll have a gold iPhone and a bunch of plastic entry iPhone models in vague, fugly colors. So he's bitching about the fact that he won't be surprised on September 10th.
Well, then do what that other guy did from The Verge and go offline.
Exactly. That's what I wrote too. I said, if you don't want to know, don't read about it. No one is forcing him to read the rumor sites, except maybe his boss. I have literally not seen a single picture of any rumored iPhone 5 backplate, front plate, color, top, whatever. You know why?
Me neither.
I don't read the stories when those rumors come out.
Yeah, I haven't seen any. Actually, that's not true. I saw the the gold thing because it was pictured in my RSS feed.
No.
But other than that, yeah, I don't even click to go see them.
Well,
here's a back plate, and here's the Bluetooth radio.
Yeah.
I mean, it just looks like a hunk of wires to me.
Yeah.
So what do I need to see that for?
Exactly. Don't care. Doesn't matter. We'll find out September 10th.
Yep.
It's like the kids who shake the Christmas presents beforehand. I don't care. I'll find out in less than a month. I'm good.
Yep.
But speaking of the so-called gold iPhone, I'm very disappointed that more people didn't rip Rene Ritchie at iMore for his idiotic post claiming that there was going to be a gold iPhone. Was this an example of a story that just people lost their minds over with the various kinds of discussions? Oh, Chinese people like gold. Oh, it's a favorite color of Asians. What, are you kidding me? I mean, this should have been a story that, rumor, next iPhone gold color, move on. But there was thousands and thousands of words written about the whys and the wherefores and the shades and the reasons and are you kidding me? Was this the biggest non-story of August?
Yeah.
Does it really matter what color the next iPhone is going to be? Do we need to delve into the psychology of buyers in various Asian countries as to why and whether or not they like the color gold? I mean, come on.
My daughter asked me what color gold or what color the iPhone would be, and I said, I don't know.
Yep.
I don't really care.
That's right.
You know, why don't you ask me something else that's actually, worthwhile, and I'll tell you. But I don't. I don't know, and I don't care. So, it's not something I ever went after.
If it happens and it's gold, great. I'll take a look at it. If I like the color, I'll buy it. If I don't, I won't. End of story. But to write so much about it, and people are, and a lot of it was just the typical internet circle jerk, people just talking to hear themselves talk and repeating everyone else. Everyone said, "Oh, the Chinese love gold," and yet no one had any sort of empirical data to back that up.
Yeah,
just completely, frustratingly idiotic.
I agree with you.
I have to say, and these are words that never come out of my mouth. Did you read the excellent story at Cult of Mac about the story of eWorld? Here I said, excellent story at Cult of Mac. I have never said that before. It was actually a very well done article from Rob Lefebvre. Must be new over there.
Oh my God.
But it was really good. A lot of folks, I mean, we've unfortunately, Jim, you and I and a lot of other folks in the audience have gotten old enough to A, remember eWorld, B, have been members of eWorld, and C, know the backstory of eWorld. The story makes it sound like eWorld died just because of lack of money, but do you think eWorld's death was predetermined from the nature of what it was?
Well, I mean, eWorld was, an Apple type thing like AOL was at the time. Yep. You remember the little AOL app?
Yep, sure.
I mean, that's pretty much what it was. So.
Now we had trouble. We had trouble getting eWorld in Canada, didn't we? Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was working for a company and they were paying for the bandwidth for eWorld. And I remember the accountant coming downstairs one day and going, "What's this $600 charge? What? Oh, it's for the internet. What's the internet?" He had no clue what I was talking about.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
But it was an interesting idea. But I think that just like AOL, I think if eWorld had taken off, I think it still would have died just later, and maybe not as fast. That once Apple had the resources to put towards it, I think it still would have died, but it might have hung on for a little longer. It was kind of cool at the beginning. I liked eWorld. It was.
Sure.
Remember back in '94, there were so few Mac users. It was the only place you could go to hang out with other Mac users, and there weren't a whole lot of them, even on eWorld.
I mean, at that time, yeah, okay, it was cool, but it had to evolve.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. The whole internet kind of exploded right around that time, and we ended up with something different. I know that we had talked at the time about having Mac Central on an eWorld or AOL. Having a version in there to make sure that we were in all of the important places.
Yeah.
Well, that changed pretty quick.
Yep. It was interesting. Like I said, it certainly was destined to die anyway. But as a place for hardcore Mac users, it was pretty cool there at the beginning.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely cool.
Folks have been you're off to London, England in the morning, aren't you?
I am.
What are you going there for?
I'm going for the iPhone or iTunes Festival.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were speaking at a conference.
No, I'm going for the iTunes Festival.
Nice. That'll be fun.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited about it.
You should be. That'll be a blast.
I love music, and this is unfortunately I'm not going to stay for 31 days, but This is a 31-day concert.
Yep, that's right. 30 nights of free live music in London, England.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about it that there's that much. But yeah, so I'm going to go over for the opening night.
Wait. The opening night is Lady Gaga.
It is.
Dude. Seriously?
Well, here's my choice. Lady Gaga. I wanted to go see Elton John, but it's on the 12th, right after the iPhone event.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get over there for the 12th. So I've got speaking gigs at the end of the month, and I couldn't make it. So the only time I could go was for the opening. And, it'll be interesting to see her.
Why?
Well, just because I heard so much about her, it'll be interesting to see the concert.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. That is going to be the weirdest visual in the world. You have to tweet when you're in the Lady Gaga audience that you're there, because there are going to be freaked out 13-year-old girls all around you.
I know.
Completely scared to death.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I've been to metal shows and I've been to all kinds of different things.
Okay.
So to be at a Lady Gaga thing, yeah.
I just want you to know that there are no mosh pits at a Lady Gaga concert, okay?
Well, there will be.
Don't be put. Don't be pushing the little 12-year-old girls around. Be nice.
I'll be making a mosh pit.
One guy moshing in the middle. You know what? There is. I'm looking at the iTunes Festival, and I got to be honest with you. There's no one there I want to go see.
No, there's a couple of bands I think that'll be good. And Queens of the Stone Age is there, and Elton John. I think Elton is the big hit of the show, in my opinion.
Really? You don't think it's Justin Timberlake?
No.
All right.
But I've never seen any of these people live.
Yeah.
So, a live show is an interesting thing, I think. And I've seen my share of metal bands live. So,
sure, yeah.
I figured, why not?
Enjoy yourself, and will you be? How long are you staying in the UK?
Till next Wednesday.
Okay. So you won't be back for the show.
I will actually be back. I think I get back at like 4:30 on Wednesday afternoon or something.
Okay.
But I'm not sure what shape I'll be in.
Yeah, exactly. And well, that being the case, then we really do want to talk to you then.
Yeah, really.
And are you hooking up with some of the listeners in the UK? Are you having a tweet up?
I don't know. I talked about that today where, I'd love to get together with some people over there, but what I may end up doing is just saying, okay, I'm going to this bar. If you want to have a drink, come on down.
Exactly. That's what you should do. Folks, follow him on Twitter. He's at J Dalrymple on Twitter. If you're in the UK, if you're in the London area, definitely want to go and hang out with Jim. He's also got his own podcast. It's Amplified. It's up on the iTunes store. Jim and Dan discuss the Chromecast app being blocked by Google. See, this is why I like that you do that other show, Jim, because I couldn't give a rat's ass.
Yeah.
Just really couldn't care. I'm glad you have an outlet where you can talk about that boring crap with somebody else. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Folks, that was Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. We went a little long. My apologies to Paul Sahner. Paul, don't worry about it. We're going to get to you. Now, let's see if Paul's IRC works. Paul, we're going to be chatting to you just momentarily. Let's see if Paul's... Okay, here it is. Video call. Let me switch one to the other so I can hear Paul. Oh, there he is. Hang on.
Huh?
Mr. Sahner, how you doing?
Hi.
Paul, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Why can't I hear you?
Can you see me?
Wait. What have I done here? Stop making that face, Paul. Don't think I can't see you. All right, hang on. Why is Paul muted? There's the mute button. Microphone muted. Microphone off. Paul, you can hear me, right? Just nod your head. Yes, you can.
Yes.
What the hell can I hear, Paul? Come on now. Plug it in there. Paul, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I still can't hear Paul. What the hell? course, Bill Reynolds is of no help now. For some reason, the audio is not... Okay, hang on. Do this. I know what it is. Paul, you can hear me now, right?
Yes.
Son of a bitch! One frickin' button is all I got to push, and I can't even manage to do that properly. Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm very good. How are you?
I am good. Thank you very much for joining us. First of all, Paul, to give the audience a little background about who you are and what are you doing in New York City?
I'm a motion graphic designer. I work for a advertising company in the city, and I do a lot of photography and motion graphics and illustrations sort of on the side.
Now, you've been doing that gig for, what, at least 5 years now, right?
The gig at this job is about 6 years now.
6 years?
Yeah.
And you picked that up right out of college?
Yeah, right out of college.
How come you haven't gotten bored of it and moved on?
You know, it's a good company. It's a small group, and we get to try all sorts of different things. We've done everything from ads for Coca-Cola and Disney, and ads for little local car companies,
cool.
and then like our company decided to develop an app. So then there was that whole exciting world to delve into. So it's always changing. So it's always interesting.
It's got to also be very creative too, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is it cookie cutter, or do you have input into what goes on, or are you just basically told, here, do this, make this, do that kind of thing, or is it more bottom up as opposed to top down?
Well, with my company internally, I feel like I've got a lot of opportunity to get my own input. With certain clients, if you're working for Disney Channel or somebody, they're going to be, they're going to have specific things that they want you to do, but that's understandable.
Let's talk about NYC-Grid.com. Now, you started this project, I'm going to guess here, what, about 4 years ago?
Yeah, 2008.
2008. So you basically at that time, you were just wandering around New York City taking pictures of the city, weren't you?
Yeah.
You were a recent immigrant to the city. Where were you born and brought up?
Well, I was born on Long Island and brought up in Westchester County, just north of the city.
So it wasn't like you were from Ohio going, oh, big buildings.
No. And then I've lived in New York since college.
Yeah, okay. And so how and why did you go from just taking pictures of various blocks to this sort of NYC-Grid idea where you are documenting the past and the present of New York?
Well, a few years ago, I got these photos that my mother actually sent me.
By the way, Paul's mom is in the IRC chat room. Say hi to your mother.
Hi, Mom.
There we go.
She had sent me these photos. They're actually slides that my grandfather took in 1961 on his trip to New York City. And so she had sent them off to Shutterfly or something, and they scanned them, and then she shared the album with me. And they were great photos. And what I loved about it is I knew where all these locations were. There was the United Nations. There was Rockefeller Center. Yep. So it just sort of made sense to me to take those photos again. And at the time I took them, I posted them, and I sort of just put them side by side. And it wasn't until later last year, and this was about 3 years ago, but a little later last year, I was able to come across this jQuery plugin that lets you do this slider effect.
Yep.
So I modified that post that I had posted a few years earlier of the 1961 photos with that slider, and without even trying, it worked perfectly. Like
Nice.
They lined up exactly. It was just such a good feeling. And so that was the start of that, and it wasn't until about a month or 2 months ago that I started to shoot photos from the Library of Congress.
So explain where these photos are coming from. I think that was an interesting thing to me. I didn't realize. I thought you were basically just stealing them online, but I didn't realize that the Library of Congress, which is America's library, and pretty much anybody can Creative Commons use those images. True, give us an idea of that aspect of it, of why you are allowed to use these photos.
Well, it's mostly all public domain imagery, mostly just because of how old it is. And then some of them is still covered by copyright, but it's part of the Library of Congress, so you have to be careful when going through their collections. You have to sort of research every photo and make sure the rights are at least usable for internet, or there's a variety of it's difficult sometimes. You come across a great photo and it's copyright 1948, and it's some guy and he still has the copyright. Some of them you just take the risk.
Are there multiple examples of the same spaces and you get to pick and choose, or are you sometimes stuck with, oh, there's only one picture from this angle that I can get? Or is the pictures of New York, it's a city that's been photographed for a century now. Do you have a lot of different choices?
Yeah, the way I go into it is I just browse. I usually don't look for something specific.
Okay.
So it's a matter of just stumbling upon something, and you just know it'll work. And some of it you just stumble and you're like, that's a great photo. I don't know where that is, but I'll find out. And you go take it from there.
I think one of the things I liked about this is that you're not just doing the landmarks. You're not just doing Empire State Building. You're not just doing the Flatiron Building. You are just doing the natural sort of exploration of a city. I think one of my favorite ones was the Canyon of Heroes, which looks almost identical. Is that one thing that surprises you, how much of this stuff, except for the damn trees, which you should be able to cut down? It's annoying how many trees are in the way. It's New York, it doesn't have trees.
The trees, I've noticed this, and actually a lot of people have mentioned the trees in comments. I'm almost certain that, especially like the Farm Services Administration, took photos in the winter. So there are trees, but there's no leaves. They were smart about it. They wanted to get the architecture, so they went out in November, December, and January and took these photos.
Okay.
So I'm just a bad photographer in that respect. I'm going out at the wrong time of year. The Canyon of Heroes one is great. If you look closely at the bottom part of that photo, it's completely the wrong angle.
Really?
Because the original photo is shot about 15 feet in the air on some sort of lift or a platform. And there's a lot like that. I don't know where in 1905 these photographers are getting lifted 15 feet into the air.
Probably the back of a horse carriage, wouldn't they?
Maybe. I don't know. And it screws up so many of my opportunities.
Yeah, because you do a really good job of matching them up. Is that a lot of work in the jQuery thing that you're doing, or is it fairly easy to line these things up?
The jQuery is no problem at all. The two most difficult parts is when I'm actually shooting it. So when I'm actually out there, I have these these sheets, these contact sheets of the original photo, and so I've got to kind of hold it up. What I really need is like something where I can put the photo on my phone and like onion skin it over the actual, but doesn't exist.
No, if someone could do that, there's an app for someone.
There's an app.
I think it's a good idea.
So that's the first difficult step. And sometimes you find out when you get home and you look at the photo big on your screen, you are 3 steps to the right or 2 steps. There was a tree that is now obscured by another tree, and really small details that are very hard to see. But then the next step is to align them in Photoshop in a single window. And so you bring down the opacity of one and just make sure they line up, rotate it if necessary. And then I crop them. So if there's a little bit of extra picture on the new one, I crop that out.
Completely off topic and tangent. Pooey?
Mm-hmm.
Your mom is calling you Pooey?
Yeah, she is.
The hell? Dude, that ain't right. That's not right. I'm sorry.
Did you give yourself Doofason? Was that your own nickname?
Yeah, that was me. Was
that your own? Okay.
Absolutely,
I've never had the opportunity to give myself my own nickname.
No, it was when I was screwing things up in Japan. I was big Doofason. There was no doubt about that. But the other one of my favorite shots you've got is a picture I didn't even know. I'm not the native New Yorker that you are, but you've got an image there that I have never seen before, and it's the Brooklyn Bridge. And the what is it? I'm just going to look at the site, the Manhattan Bridge Archway. I didn't even know that was there. That's gorgeous. Your picture and the old picture are both beautiful shots. What is that on the Brooklyn side or is that on the Manhattan side?
That's on the Manhattan side. That's at the end of Canal Street.
It's gorgeous.
The first time you come to it, it's really kind of a startling thing because there's nothing like that in New York City.
Do you have any history of why that colonnade is there? Why that archway is there?
I don't know the why. I know it was built sort of during this period of time when they wanted to have civic pride in the city. So it was built around the same time that a lot of things were being built in Washington, D.C. with big columns and ornate detailing. But it certainly is in the way now. If you look at the traffic that has to get around the colonnade, it's a bit of a mess.
Arxon in the RC chat room says, ask if the people, trees, and extraneous parts of the old images make them more interesting. He says, I think so. It's why I won't ever use Snap Heel.
Oh, yeah. The people, the trees, the sort of ephemeral details that could have not been there a moment before are great. And I whenever possible, I try to take the new photo to include similar details. So if there's a cab in a certain part of the picture, I try to make sure there's a car or a cab or something in a similar location in the new one.
What's the longest time you've had to wait for a shot?
It doesn't actually take very long. It's, I'll stand around in a location for about 10 minutes, but I usually have a shot list that's pretty long, so I'm trying to get on my way.
Ever been accosted by the law?
For this project, no. For previous NYC-Grid shoots, I've run into some problems.
Yeah. Are any of the shots surprising in the amount they've changed, or even in the little they've changed? Anything that really strikes you as being kind of odd or strange or cool, that it's changed a lot or changed a little?
Yeah, I've come across some. There's actually one. It's not posted yet. It's posting on Friday.
Okay.
So it's not fair to talk about it, but it's an amazing shot of Mott Street down near Chinatown. And it's sort of in the area where, like, the gangs of New York took place. It's a rough area. And so this is turn of the last century. And, there's some old tenement buildings and an old storefront. And it's people with horses and wagons. The new photo is identical.
Wow.
Except for the horses,
Yeah.
the new photo is identical. And I couldn't believe it. There's 2 or 3 new buildings, but they even mirror the aspects of the old buildings. It's really something else.
The Grand Central Station ones are really remarkable, too, for how little Grand Central Station has changed over the years.
Yeah, well, it would have been actually almost more interesting to take these photos in the 80s when Grand Central is in such decay. It's almost, we've come full circle. If we had caught it sort of mid-deterioration, it would have been far different.
Is there some place in New York that you haven't shot that you'd like to, or someplace that you aren't allowed to shoot? I mean, one of the things I was thinking about was the Stock Exchange. I don't think I've seen any pictures there, of at least inside the Stock Exchange that you shot.
Yeah, no, there's none that I can do really inside. You end up with private property and all that. I actually do have a photo of Wall Street coming up, I think in a few weeks. But the thing about Wall Street is it's completely closed off now. It's there's no car traffic on the street, so it has a very different feel.
How about the idea that a lot of these photos are from the very early 19th century? Is that intentional on your part, or that just because those are the shots you have access to?
Those are just, in those cases, it's the ones that I found. And also, you find photos and you know where it is. You know you can probably get to that location, but you also know there's a tree right there, or it's just not going to work out. So you just sort of abandon it.
Any one particular photo that's your favorite?
Ooh, I like the most recent from last Friday of City Hall. That's 2 photos, and I really enjoy that just because in the really old one from 1919, the building at that point was still 100 years old, so it's an old City Hall. But back in 1919, the entire building was covered in a different type of stone, and it wasn't until the 1950s that they refaced the entire building in a different material. So when you look at the 2013, you're actually looking at like almost an entirely different building. It went under such an extensive renovation, but it's fun to see that they really kept it almost exactly the same.
It's kind of neat in that it took me a while to realize it's vaguely familiar. They kept the same motif, the same sort of design facade, but like you said, they've updated it with new materials. They've changed in very, not minor ways, but visually minor ways to make it look, I guess, more modern, but still having that feel of the original 1919 City Hall. It's a very cool effect.
Mm-hmm.
How much longer is this something that you're going to continue to do as long as you're in New York? Is this just a hobby? Is this a paying gig for you? Give us an idea of where NYC-Grid is going in the future.
It's just a hobby. It's really great to see people so interested in it. I've been posting these entries for a while, and I get a modest number of hits, which is encouraging. But to see the sort of response it's had in the past few weeks is really great, and it's I'll keep doing it for as long as I can keep finding pictures. It takes probably about, for a full round trip of a single image, it's probably about an hour and a half per image to go out, find the image on the Library of Congress, source where it's from, print it out, go out to the location, shoot the photo, come back, edit it, bring it around, put it into the post. There's a lot of legwork involved.
Yeah, because I haven't seen very many Roosevelt Island pictures. I thought would be kind of interesting to see some of those of the buildings before and after, because that's one that's really turned from when I know Roosevelt Island. It's really changed. It's become very, I don't know if gentrified is the right word for New York, but it certainly has seen a lot of changes over the years.
It's it's so different that unless the photo has like the Queensboro Bridge in the background, you'd be hard pressed to find the exact location.
Yeah. ArcSign says, ask Paul if he'll consider using a remote control drone next time he needs a high angle pic.
Yeah, that'd be the way to go.
No kidding. How about Mosquito says, ask how he matches lenses and distortion.
Very poorly. I've got very cheap glass on my camera, so I'm dealing with these gorgeous large format photos.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the Library of Congress scans them at 16 megapixels. Yeah. They're very large files, so it's great source material. And then with good lenses, you look up at a building or you face upward, and all the lines will stay true.
That's right. Yeah.
With my lens, you get this beautiful. So luckily, I have a few aperture plugins that can do some modest correction for the lens distortions, but sometimes you got to cheat it a little bit in Photoshop and drag a few lines where they're supposed to be. If only your camera were better. Is
that your photography app of choice, Aperture?
Yeah, I like it.
Why Aperture over Lightroom?
Why Aperture? Well, I'm trying to think. I had a reason. I had Aperture 2, and it was slow.
Yeah.
And I think the current is 3, right? I'm trying to remember.
Aperture? Yeah, 3.
Yeah, 3. And when I upgraded to 3, it was... I know what it was. I had iPhoto. And then I started shooting RAW, and it was a natural sort of upgrade because I wanted to keep my library. I've used Lightroom a few times, and I really like it. It's just, at this point, I have no real gripes with Aperture, though I know plenty of people do.
Yeah, that's what I was asking, because I'm a Lightroom guy, and for the same reasons. It's what I've gotten used to. And Aperture's a fine product, and Lightroom's a fine product. Mo was asking with that. I was going to ask if Lightroom can compensate, and it can. Lightroom can do some of that distortion compensation, lens compensation. So both apps can do it. Both are good apps. I just happen to like Lightroom better.
Yeah, I'm using Adobe CC now, so Lightroom's in my folder. It just hasn't been played with a whole lot yet.
Folks, I've been talking to Paul Sahner of NYC-Grid.com. You can follow him on Twitter. You can also get an RSS feed of his pictures on NYC-Grid. Paul, as always, great talking to you, buddy. I appreciate it. And fantastic having your mom hanging out with us. It was great talking to her earlier. And she promised me baby pictures, so I'm looking forward to those.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Am I allowed to drink this beer? Is this okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm 28 now.
Can't. 28? Oh, my God. You can't see me, but video side by side, I'm doing the same thing. I'm drinking Rickard's Red, pal.
Awesome.
It was great seeing you again, pal.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That was Paul Sahner from NYC-Grid.com. Hang on, let me get this straightened away. Check it out. It's really fun. I'm amazed at how effective that slider is. So much more than if Paul had put the photos side by side. I don't think it would have been nearly as interesting side by side as using that jQuery thing. And he actually has instructions on how to do it yourself on the jQuery piece of code. He's got instructions on his site of how to do this for your own stuff. But that layering of it is really, really cool. And I found myself just tweaking pictures just slightly, just left and right, just by millimeters to see the difference in that wall or the difference in that tree, how much that tree has grown or things like that. It's a really, really cool app. So I follow Paul on Twitter and love every morning when he starts posting new pics from NYC-Grid, NYC-Grid.com. Paul says a jQuery plugin. It's catchmyfame.com, and you can probably do a search from there to get the jQuery, JQUERY. Excuse me. Now, someone else mentioned, I think it was ArcSign, mentioned a Snap Heel. It's from a company called MacFun. And if you don't mind giving up some information, they've got the app Snap Heel is an app I've used. I like Snap Heel. It's a really kind of a cool app that lets you, the lack of a better way. Let me show you on the video. Go to macfun.com, macphun.com/freebie. And they've got a freebie for Snap Heal. And it lets you remove unwanted objects. And one of the things that I find, there's a picture of it up on the website, most useful is getting rid of power lines. Getting rid of, you've got a beautiful picture of this building, and yet there's a electrical line or a power line or a telephone pole in the way. There's a shot on the website of the Greek island of Santorini. And it's exactly what I used Snap Heal for. It had some great pictures of these beautiful blue buildings that they have in Santorini, and yet there was power lines running through them. So I used Snap Heal to brush those out. So it's a really cool app. And so you can get it for free. You can go to macfun.com/freebie. Now, you've got to pimp them on social media. You got to pimp them on Twitter or on Facebook or Google+, and then they'll send you the code to download the free copy of it. So if you don't mind pimping them on Twitter or Facebook or Google+, go ahead and grab that software. It's easy to use. It's real simple. Like I said, I've used it many, many times. It's a great little app. Some photographers don't like it because it's not real. The perfect example of the unrealness of it is the image they use where they've taken the tourist completely out of the picture. It's a picture of, it looks like it might be Santorini, actually. Guy by the water's edge, and they've completely, I was going to say photoshopped him, but no, they completely snap-healed him out of the picture. It's a really neat effect, and it works very, very well. It's surprisingly well. ArcSign says, I like the offer that MacFun makes. They give you something and ask you for something. It's like paying for it. No problem. Okay, I understand that. The issue I had with it was the forced nature of it. That the only way you could get it was if you pimped them. I'd much rather have it be my choice as opposed to be forced. But I understand what you're saying, ArcSign. And like I said, I still love the app. I've had the app long before MacFun was giving away for free. So I have no problem. I have no problem telling folks to go ahead and get the app. It's a very good one. And again, real simple, real easy to use. As always, we love getting emails from you guys. You can send me email to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Oh my goodness. We have in the audience, not in the audience, we have, let me just get this straightened away so I can do this, a new Mac user, a new iOS user, from our friend Doug Pasnak. And Doug, let me just get this set up properly so I can show the audience. There it looks like. There we go. That's the new iOS user, Presley Dale, 6 pounds 6 ounces, 20 inches long, born Monday morning. Congratulations to Doug and mom and family, and to Paisley. She's so cute. That's very pretty. Congratulations to you, Doug, and the Pasnak family. Scott Randall says, "Hey Shawn, glad to see you're enjoying your new home. You actually seem much happier." Well, thanks. This is Scott from the Long Island Macintosh User Group. Look, I have a mug from Limac. Oh, let me get my fingers away. Limac, Long Island Macintosh User Group. One of the, who was it? I got to find his name now. One of the Limacers was actually here in Calgary last week. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to meet up. He was very busy with family obligations, so it wasn't my fault or his fault for that matter that we didn't get a chance to sit down and have a chat. But I appreciate him dropping off at the front door, actually, this wonderful Limac mug from the nice folks at the Long Island Macintosh User Group. I'm just trying to find out who it was. No, I can't find out. Oh, I'm so sorry. Somebody remind me of who it was that dropped this off. Somebody at Limug. I'll figure it out eventually. Anyway, so that's Scott Randall says, The MacBook Air you're getting, is it the 11-inch? I have one. It's really great. Maybe not getting it anymore, Scott, just because of the expense. Bizarrely enough, it costs more to fly to London, England than it does to Torino, Italy. I can't figure that. From either Calgary or Vancouver, it's about $1,200 to fly to Torino. From Calgary or Vancouver, it's $1,300 to fly to London. That makes no sense. But because of the cost of the bike tires, that was the money I was saving up for the MacBook Air, so I'm probably not getting the MacBook Air. He says, the new ones are even better. They have more RAM, a greater amount of flash storage. As far as you waiting for a Retina MacBook Air, I think you'll have a long wait. At this point, the cost of making a MacBook Air 13-inch with a Retina screen would bring the price pretty close to that of a 13-inch Retina MacBook Pro. Since that weighs only about half a pound more than the 13-inch Air, it would not be practical for Apple to do this, as the MacBook Pro Retina would outsell the Air at the same price. They'd have to be able to make all the Air models available Retina for the same price as selling the MacBook Air now. I think it'll be a while before Apple can do this. By the way, I went into the Apple Store near me and compared the 13-inch MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro Retina. Personally, I can't see enough difference to warrant the raves about the Retina screen. On document or web page, the text and graphics look the same. The text is pretty sharp on a MacBook Air. Maybe it's my eyes, but my wife could not notice the difference either. Photos, however, I compared the same photo they had in iPhoto, side by side, were noticeably sharper and colors more vibrant. When not side by side, I do not notice the difference at all, but you might. I'm unlikely to, Scott, because I'm as old as the rest of us, and my eyes aren't that good either. If you remember, they showed people outside an Apple Store the Retina and standard iPad side by side, and no one could tell the difference. Anyway, I'd like to know what you think. I enjoy the show. Look forward to it every week. Thank you very much. Scott Randall from the Long Island Macintosh User Group. If I was going to get the MacBook Air as just the machine to take to Italy because it was lightweight, it would be the 11-inch. The cute Italian girl doesn't need a Retina display. She doesn't need a 15-inch. She doesn't need a MacBook Pro. She is the perfect target audience for MacBook Air. She wants something small, light, relatively fast, doesn't need a lot of hard drive space. She needs something for email and pictures and backing up her iPhone, browsing the web. Not much more than that. But one of the other reasons why I would wait for a MacBook Air Retina was for resale value. Because if I bought a MacBook Air now, when the Retina came out, I tried to sell it, it wouldn't be worth nearly as much. So I don't need a MacBook Air. I'd like a MacBook Air. I'd especially like to be able to hand it down to the cute Italian girl. But I'm not going to get one for myself until there's a Retina display. And your arguments, your discussion, your points are well made that right now Apple can't do that. They can't make a MacBook Air with a Retina display. How many emails do we get from you guys? Again, on air at yourmaclifeshow.com. Got an email from, where is it? Mike Eyes, our friend Mike Eyes. He said, we're talking about the book that I was talking about on last week's show. He said, I like my iPhone 4 version of the book so much, I waited until 12 South released a book 5 for the iPhone 5 before I updated the iPhone 5. That's, yeah, you really do like your MacBook Air, your book. If you will only upgrade it once another case for it comes up. Now, he made an interesting point. The new version of the the book for iPhone 5, the minor conveniences you mentioned about the version you have are solved in the iPhone 5 version. The iPhone is held in by a plastic ridge. Let me show you guys this image. So that's what he's talking about. Oh, it's upside down. Why is it upside down? But anyway, so you can see in that picture that the I keep saying MacBook. The iPhone 5 is held in by those ridges, plastic ridges, and there is an opening for the phone. So that's a very good new feature. Thanks very much to Michael Marino for that picture. So I sent. I've lost myself. Where's my video? There we go. I sent your comment, Michael, to Andrew Green at 12 South, and he wrote back, "Crazy, right? Even cooler. It's not the first time we've heard the story." He says, "I think it's two things. Once you combine two such important things, your wallet and your phone, it becomes a lifestyle tool as much as it's as a case. I know when I switch away from a book now, I'm a total mess. I leave my wallet and or phone all over the place." He says, "I also think people can tell there's heart behind the book, and not just another company pushing more plastic into the world. When people see something with a little authenticity, personality, and heart, it really stands out these days." Andrew Green, co-founder and creative director of 12south.com. I don't disagree with Andrew. I think that's certainly true, that you can see that there's the cases from everything from the folks at 12 South is whimsical, is neat, if not completely useful and must have. They're inventive, they're different. They're not the same cookie cutter iPhone cases we see every other company putting out. They do something that's a little different each time that they bring out a product. That's why I like. Even if I don't care about the product itself, I recognize the thought that went into creating that product. That it's a company, 12 South is a company that really thinks about how can we do something different as opposed to doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. So, yeah, I do like their stuff from that point of view. So, Andrew Green, thanks very much for responding to that. Kevin Bryan, excuse me, from Farmington, Connecticut. Haven't listened to the show that much. But it was great to tune back in yesterday. Happy to hear things are working out for you in Canada and that you have a CIG traveling companion. I don't have any kind of inside knowledge or expertise that Jim D has, but I do know a lot about the buying preferences of people in emerging third world countries. My wife of 11 years is from Indonesia. The per capita income there is about $300 a month, and it's growing. Everyone has a smartphone, way more than the percent of people who have a laptop or a home computer. Most of the people we know have incomes 2 to 3 times that of the per capita, so around 5 to 10 grand per year. Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines are likely the only 3 countries in the world where BlackBerry is still the shit. Of course, you, Jim, and I would probably say BlackBerry is shit in a completely different context. People there are addicted to BBM, the BlackBerry-only instant messaging service. However, with the advent of WhatsApp, which is a very good app on iOS, Android, and BlackBerry, people are slowly moving away from the Crackberry devices. People do not buy subsidized iPhones there. They buy them full price, unlocked. At $650, the iPhone 5 has not been a big hit there. People will be more likely to buy last year's iPhone or iPhone 4. BlackBerry has just released their mid-tier BlackBerry 10 phone, the Q5. It sells for just a hair under $400, roughly the same price as here. If Apple can come in at $350 to $400 on that iPhone 5C, no strings attached, it will sell like hotcakes the world over. Pure opinion, wishful thinking, he says. I really, really hope they do not sell it subsidized or allow it to be subsidized. I don't know if they have the power to demand this from their carrier partners, but I think that will allow it to shine around the world. An unlocked, SIM-free phone. In the U.S. anyway, there are prepaid plans on MVNO carriers running on TMO and AT&T for $40 and $50 a month that would be perfect for the iPhone 5S. Examples are H2O and AirVoice, Simple Mobile, T-Mobile. Thanks for letting me share my 2 cents. Kevin. Thanks, Kevin. That was insightful. We don't realize what's going on in the emerging world, that BlackBerry is still quite popular in the countries you mentioned. For you folks who are subscribers to Your Mac Life, first of all, thank you very much. Secondly, you should have gotten an email over the last few days, one email, inviting you to follow us on the Twitter feed, the private Twitter feed that we'll have, and giving you a little bit of an update of what's going on behind the scenes with the website and what we plan on doing. If you're a subscriber to Your Mac Life and you didn't get that email, please send me a reminder. because I want to check to make sure that my mailing list is the same as my virtual hat list, is the same as my subscriber list. I have to make sure all those things are matched up. So please, if you didn't get an email from me about our own private Italy, the trip, and the Twitter account, please send me an email to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com, and I'll do my best to, first of all, I'll send you the email, and I'll make sure to check that you're on my mailing list. Folks, that's it for tonight's show. I want to say thanks very much to Paul Sahner. Long time no talk. Always enjoy talking to Paul. And a big special shout out to Paul's mom. Thank you very much to Paul's mom for hanging out with us for the entire show. I appreciate it. Also, thanks to our good friend Jim Dalrymple with The Loop at loopinsight.com for being here. I know he's busy packing because he's off to the UK tomorrow. There's no bands there in that bill that I want to say. It's kind of cool. They're doing 30 days of free concerts. I don't go to any of them. But we'll hear from Jim as he travels around the UK going to these concerts. Folks, until next week, as always, I appreciate you guys being here. I've been Shawn King, and you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!